Whenever people shop for a car, there's always many things that they want to look at. Some different features matter more to some people. Maybe you want a manual versus an automatic. Maybe you want a certain paint color. Maybe you want to use it for different things like off-roading. Or maybe you like being able to corner hard. You want to go really fast in a straight line. Or you need a lot of space in the back because you always haul a lot of stuff. There's many different factors that people look at whenever they purchase a car. The specific car that we're going to be focusing on today though is the Subaru WRX. And now there's a lot of hate that can go for people who drive Subaru WRXs. Hey yo, where you vape at, bro? Hey man, how's that head gasket holding up? What, are you on like your third engine by now? But that's not what the focus of today's video is on. Today we're going to go over things that you should know before you purchase a Subaru WRX. Number 1, don't buy one with an engine swap. You don't know what they did to the car, you don't know if they swapped the engine in right, you don't know all the maintenance they did to it, if they have receipts for anything, you don't know what all went into this engine swap that happened. If their first engine went out, sometimes odds are they drove it really poorly, or they didn't take care of it well enough and that's why they need a replacement. Of course there are scenarios where engines go out where people did take care of them, but sometimes the fact that somebody had to swap out their engine can mean that it was misused. And also some other things on the car might not be as good as they should be. Even if we give them the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't their fault that they needed to get a replacement engine, an engine going out can lead to different things going wrong. Maybe the turbo sucked something up, maybe the engine mounts were going bad and they never replaced them. There's a bunch of different parts that are connected to the engine that might not have gotten replaced and just the engine was transplanted, so you never know. It's not worth the headache. Just find one that has the stock engine that came with it when it came from the factory. Now, number 2 is that these cars have terrible paint. If we take a look at mine right here, you can see on the front all of these dinks that I have. You can see all this clear coat peel. There's so many chips all over the entire thing. Up here's the worst of it though. This entire portion of the car is peeling. And even on this door you can see at the most all of those chips in the paint. So this paint is not very good. So just know that you're getting into that whenever you buy these cars. The paint chips very easily, the clear peels, especially being this old. I kind of expected the paint to not be that good on it. Now it's time for number 3, the world-renowned head gasket talk. So, your head gasket seals your engine block to the cylinder head. This can give people a lot of issues on their Subaru WRX. So when these fail, it can cause coolant and oil to leak between the head and the block, which makes them mix. This fails to lubricate the engine, it can make it seize, it can make it overheat. We don't want those to mix. This can be fixed though by doing your proper head gasket maintenance, which I believe is every 100,000 miles. So mine's been running pretty well because they did get replaced whenever I bought this car. Again, just taking care of it, making sure that you do your scheduled maintenance whenever it's due can make these cars more reliable for you. As many turbocharged cars experience, this car does in fact burn oil because of that turbocharger. So they can burn a quart about every 100,000 miles, so it's important to frequently check your oil to see how much is in there. And then also make sure that you go ahead and replace it. I need to actually change mine, which is what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. In about 6 months. I haven't driven 5,000 miles, which is when I like to do it, but it's been about 6 months, so it needs to get replaced for me. This helps lubricate your moving parts within your engine and inside the turbo, so if you don't have enough oil in it, it can't lubricate these parts, which in turn will make it seize or can make your engine stop working, all these bad things that we don't want. Now, in the WRX, it has the 5-speed. But in the STI it has the 6-speed. On at least my year car, they refer to this 5-speed transmission as the glass transmission, and this is because it can only handle up to 350 wheel horsepower, whereas some STI transmissions have been able to see upwards of 1,000 horsepower. Everybody has different experiences, so one of the main culprits that can break these 5-speed transmissions is torque. So whenever you start going into mods, it creates more horsepower, but it also creates more torque. So this torque, these 5 speeds just aren't able to hold it. So once you start pushing a lot of torque, which also comes with that horsepower increase into these transmissions, they're just not able to hold it, and that's how you get them breaking and people need to replace them. So again, it all is a personal experience. So mine's held up well in stage 2, someone else's might not, but these are referred to as a glass transmission, so they can have their problems, but mine's been perfectly fine so far. So just know that going into this if you do purchase a WRX. Number 6 would be do your maintenance and do it on time. Doing your maintenance just decreases the amount of problems that you'll see in the future. Even preventative maintenance, which I've done to this car, there's been certain things that didn't need replaced, but I replaced them anyway just for safety in the future. Even just small things can snowball into something large. Now replacing your spark plugs can do a misfire. A misfire can turn into your engine eventually seizing up and you have to get a whole new motor. So these small things can snowball into each other. They can turn from little repairs into super large repairs. From my personal experience, I think that any car can be reliable if it's well taken care of. I've had cars in the past that I've neglected. They haven't treated me well because of this neglection. And I've had other cars that I've taken really good care of, and they've been really good to me as well. So I think it goes both ways. If you take care of your car really well, it'll take care of you really well. So making sure that you do your maintenance, you do it on time. Sometimes you do have to go above and beyond, do some things so that way in the future they don't give you a headache, but just making sure that you do your maintenance is very important to keeping these cars running and not giving you any problems. I think it's good before purchasing a car to look up the top 5 things that can go wrong with it and how much they cost. It's just good to see how much these different things cost and if you can afford them. Of course, we don't want them to happen, but there is always the possibility, as they are the top 5 things that do go wrong with the car. So it's always a good measure to see how much these cost. If worst case scenario, something does happen, if you're able to afford it. It's also good future proofing, because were one of these things to happen to you, would you be able to afford that as well? It doesn't just happen soon after you get the car. It could happen a year, 2 years in the future, something that you have to plan for. If you live anywhere up north, you'll know that rust is a big concern for any car. Now, like we talked about before, these cars do not have very good paint. So whenever that paint chips, it also starts rusting now. So now you got your chipping paint that's also now getting rusted, and that's just not a good combo at all. These spots on the side you might be able to see. It's very much so this right side that shows the rust. You see a big one right there. There's some down that way. These spots where the paint is chipping, they start rusting now because I live up north in Pennsylvania, so they do salt our roads very heavily in the wintertime, especially if we get a lot of snow. Now, I know some people like to agree and disagree with this next point, which is to remember your fast, cheap, and reliable triangle. Now, of course, this is a made-up thing. I'm not entirely sure if I believe it fully, but with my experience, I do kind of feel like it is a little bit true, or there's some truth to it, or it is always something that you should consider. So the premise of the fast, cheap, reliable triangle is that there's 3 options in each point of the triangle. You have fast, cheap, and reliable. You then turn this triangle into a Venn diagram, and you can see there's a part where it intersects. This part where all 3 intersect is what you cannot have. There's just no way to have it. You can't have all 3 at once. You have to choose 2. So for example, you can choose fast and cheap. It just won't be that reliable. You can choose reliable and cheap. It just won't be that fast. I feel like this isn't true for all cars. I'm sure there's cars that you can buy that are fast, cheap, and reliable, but I do think that there's still some truth, and something that you should look at is the fast, cheap, reliable, or the iron triangle, because I do feel like it does have some truth to it. For my WRX specifically, I do feel like it falls under cheap and fast. Okay, now before anybody starts flaming me in the comments, I know it's not that fast. It's got like a 5 to 5.5 seconds 0 to 60. I feel like that's really not that fast, but it doesn't fall into the reliable category. I feel like maybe now it does, but I feel like it doesn't exactly fall under that category compared to other cars that you could buy on the market. So I would consider it under that point. Now, it can probably be scary hearing all these things because you're like, oh my gosh, should I even buy one now? Like, it doesn't seem like it's really for me. That's something that you'll have to consider. There's other videos that you can also watch about WRXs and people's experiences with them. I hope that this won't fully defer you from buying a WRX, because this, as the video I posted before has said, is my favorite car that I've ever owned. I think as long as you make sure that you do your maintenance, you take care of it, it'll take care of you, as I said before. This car was not very good whenever I bought it. I took the money at the beginning and did some things to it that would make it more reliable and that I wouldn't have to take care of in the future, making it kind of like future-proof. And there's a lot of things to consider when buying any car, but I hope I didn't totally defer you guys away from buying this. It's been a blast to drive. I love this car. I don't have any plans on selling it anytime soon. Even in the condition that I bought it in, it really hasn't given me that many problems. I hope this list did, though, give you an insight on what it takes to be a Subi bro and what you should know before getting yourself into a Subaru WRX. I hope to see you guys driving around in your own Subaru WRXs, though. I'll make sure to give you a good old Subi wave if I pass you. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. You guys have given me so much support recently on the channel. We've been growing so rapidly, so just thank you so much. And that's all that I got for you guys today, so thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.